Hey friends, today I am here to give you a huge dose of permission. So, we're talking about, are you keeping your clients from succeeding? And if you don't have clients, this actually goes both ways. So, if you are looking for support in your business, or if you are a person that gives other people support in their business, this applies to you from both sides. So, here's the deal, there are a few different ways that I see bosses with the very best of intentions who are actually hurting their clients versus helping their clients. And and I have seen some very heated discussions inside Facebook groups by people who have been on the other side of this. So I don't want to say victim, that sounds pretty awful, but basically they've been on the receiving end of this. So I'm not saying that people have bad intentions, and I honestly don't believe that most people do. I believe that if you're in a place of giving service, that your intentions are good. But it's also easy, I believe, especially with so much of our business being online and being able to really see what other people are presenting versus what is really happening, that you can get caught up in doing things like the way they seem like they're supposed to be instead of the ways that actually feel good, that make sense to you. And one of these is that I see a lot of people who have done one thing really, really well, and it helped them build their business, which is great. And that's the thing they teach to other people. Totally makes sense. But here's the thing, it doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. So maybe I built my business and like hit all the markers and have all the jargon about how amazing and how much money I make, but I did it with Pinterest. And so I teach people how to use Pinterest. It makes sense, right? Because you're thinking, well, this person clearly knows a thing or two about Pinterest. But at the same time, things like social media change, right? They change. There's different things you have to stay on top of it. So what specifically worked for that person then doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you now. And the way that one person builds their business doesn't mean that that's the right way. It's the only way for you to build your business. But so often, sales copy really comes across like, you got to do it this way or it's not going to get done. This is the only way. This is the thing that you absolutely have to have, or you are not going to be successful in business. And of course, when we're struggling, we're like, okay, if that's what you say, I will do it. I will try it. Like, I will do and try everything that I can do to make sure that I get the level of success that I want. So none of these things are bad. Learning how to do something and teaching somebody else, like, yes, we all do that. Like, that's the nature of the game. But as a person who is on the receiving end of that, if you are presenting yourself as this is the only way, this is the way that is going to work for every single person, and it's going to be just like this is the formula, this is the only formula, this is the only way this works, then you are setting a lot of people up for disappointment. And I don't think that that's the intention. I don't think there's the intention to make people feel bad. And the people that are on the receiving end of that, for some people, yeah, they get exactly that. It's the exact thing for them. It works with their personality, their time commitment, they're showing up for it, all of these kinds of things. But if it's not a good fit for you, if it doesn't make you stretch and grow, it just makes you highly uncomfortable to the point that you don't actually show up and take action. If it just doesn't feel natural, if it's not a good decision on your business, for your business and the things that you want to do and what's important to you, then it makes you feel like crap. And an extended period of time that a person goes through where they are not trusting themselves, they're doubting themselves, they're thinking, why me? What is wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? They feel so unstable because their business is unstable, because who wants financial instability? Like, nobody does. Then that actually has a long-term effect on that person. It can feel very traumatic, and it makes their success, which they're doing all these things to try to get closer to success, but it makes the success that they want get farther and farther away. It's like being picked up by the current and your little kayak, and you're just farther and farther and farther away from the shore when that wasn't the idea. So Again, I don't think people have bad intentions. I really don't. But if you are presenting as this is the only thing that a person can do, and then you're not actually helping people. So maybe it's a really great option for you if, etc., etc. If you're on the receiving end of that, it can really make you feel like crap, and it makes you not have trust. So not only are you feeling really nervous about trying to invest in your business again, but then you're also having that same mistrust for yourself, and that has long-term effects. So sucks all around. The other way that this is your second, so first dose of permission is that if something doesn't really feel like it's the right fit for you, then don't do it. There's so many options. There's so many ways that you can grow a business. I do believe that there are certain foundations. So if you want to think about it, like certain buckets that have to be filled, but you can fill them any way you want to. It can be unicorn glitter. It can be soft and neutral. Like whatever is you, that's the way you do it. But it's just certain categories that have to be addressed. So the second big dose of permission is that if you are a service-based person, so I feel like especially with things like marketing, marketing or any kind of area around that where you're really trying to help people do and accomplish something, that what I see happening a lot. So especially in the like coaching, marketing kind of area, and then also in people who do some sort of growth, so like personal growth, life coaches, spiritual growth, those kinds of things. What I see a lot is that it's easy to feel like you care so much about your clients' results. You care so much about getting them where they want to be that you put them on your back and you carry them across the finish line. So the way that this shows up and what it looks like is always going over the allotted time on your calls, always offering more things for free that weren't really included. And, at first it feels like, well, I'm just going to go a little bit of an extra mile here. But then it gets to be more and more. So if you're a graphic designer, maybe there really needs to be what we call a change order for people that are not in design. That means that you paid for A, but now you want to do something that's so different, we have to create a whole other contract. So that's essentially what that is. And other ways that this can show up is just that feeling of constantly over delivering and almost like a fear when you feel like, what if this person doesn't like me? What if this person tells other people they don't get results? If you have these sort of fear-based things going on, the problem is that when you have a client that is so dependent on you, then you're really hampering them. You are not helping them. So if you think about it with like kids as an example, as a mom, and I have been guilty of this, and Josie's preschool teacher had to talk to me about it because it's so easy with your kids. You're just like, oh, I'll just do it, right? Like, it's not that they can't do it or they don't need to learn, but it just feels almost automatic. You're just used to like, here's all your stuff, and let me fix this for you, let me fix that for you. But that's not making them independent. So then when they get into a situation like preschool or kindergarten where they need to get their own backpack on, buckle themselves in and out of their car seats, and tie their own shoes and things like that, then they're behind and they don't know how to. And in turn, it makes them feel like they can't do things. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel ready to do other things because they feel so behind that they can't do the basic stuff. That's exactly what happens with our clients when we do everything for them. So, to a certain degree, a lot of what we do, especially with coaching, is creating the space. But if I feel like, well, I keep telling this client that we need to work on her messaging, and then she sends me something and I edit it and that's all good, but it's not enough. And so I just do all the messaging for her. All right, that's going too far. Like, she has to show up for herself. She has to build the confidence of knowing that I can do this because, unless you want to pay somebody to do everything for you, you have to do writing to be able to market yourself. And you most certainly have to know how to talk about yourself. And you definitely have to feel confident doing so, telling people who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and why the work that you do matters. So that's an example of how you can really hurt someone versus helping them. And here's the second thing that I want you to know about that. If you are really going over the top, really carrying those clients on your back, usually that's about you and it's not actually about them. Okay, so usually that's about you, not really about them. And here's why: it's your fear, it's your lack of confidence that is making you go the extra limit because you feel like your success is so dependent on what that other person does, instead of recognizing that that's not actually your job. So, in coaching, for example, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So, actually, I was talking to a copywriter that I'm working with, and she said, well, what do you think about a money back guarantee? And I said, well, actually, I don't feel that great about that because that really gives people a way to create an excuse to not show up, and you only get out of it what you put into it. So I don't make guarantees that you are going, like, you're going to get 10 clients or you're going to do this or that, because I mean, honestly, I have had most of my clients at this point in my business. I've done this long enough where I can kind of see if somebody's not ready or not for, a multitude of different reasons. But you only get out of it what you put into it. And if I create the space for the calls and I assign you all the to-dos and I'm here and 100% available for you, but you don't make the calls, you never send me anything to review, you never get your to-dos done, like, there's not anything else that I can do for you because I'm not going to put you on my back and carry you over the finish line. So again, the two things to note here are that carrying people on your back is not your job. So, right, let that one go. That's not your job. And if you are feeling like you need to do that, you either have a client that you need to talk to and say, hey, this is what we're here for. This is what I can do for you, but you need to take responsibility for the rest. Or two, you need to build some confidence and some self-trust because this is really more about you and not about them. You're afraid. You're afraid that if they don't have a great experience, you're never going to get another client. They're going to tell the whole internet world that you suck. You may be doubting, can you really get people the result that they want? And so you've just got to make sure that this experience is 1,000% amazing for yourself. So it's not really about them, it's really for you. And a lot of times just recognizing the difference is really, really helpful because you can cultivate confidence. So just to recap, the last thing that we've talked about is carrying clients on your back, realizing that it's really about you, it's not them, or that you're not doing them any favors, and so you need to readjust how you're working, and huge dose of permission to not feel like that's your responsibility. If you need a little swipe copy here, just tell them the truth. Hey, you're only going to get out of this what you put into it, and I would love for you to show up in XYZ way so that you can get this specific result. Kind of uncomfortable, but after you do it, you're going to feel so much better. And the other thing we talked about is this idea that there's a cookie cutter way to do things, and how even though we talk about it and we're kind of doing the sales copy thing the way we feel like we're supposed to, it can be really hurtful. And if you are experiencing buying into a service where it is like, this is the formula, this is the thing that you have to do, and then you don't get results and you find yourself feeling really bad about it, don't feel bad about it. It just wasn't for you. So this is something that I am super passionate about because, and it's really the base. I've just seen too many people feel bad about how they weren't where they thought they were going to be, and how that made it take them so much longer to get where they wanted to go. Not because they didn't have the skills, not because they didn't have the knowledge, not because they didn't have amazing services, but because they had so much self-doubt. So I hate that. And make sure and listen to the Magnetic Entrepreneur podcast, which is coming out tomorrow, because we're talking about this exact thing about building self-trust. And I love this conversation so much. So it's also the reason why I created Fearless Fundamentals the way that I did. So Fearless Fundamentals is a 6-month coaching program. It's for people who have been in business, but they just haven't been able to get that consistency that they wanted. They're kind of up and down, they're feast or famine. But here's what's different. I don't tell you what worked for me and expect for you to just do what I did and get the same results that I want. We focus on these 4 categories of things that you need to figure out how to make them yours. So your messaging, it's got to be clear, it's got to be specific, but it's unique to you. And when we're talking about biz models are specific to you. How much time do you have? What kind of stuff do you like to do? It's about that. It's not about trying to model what somebody else has. When we're talking about mindset, that's definitely specific to you, but so important so that you actually take action. And that action piece comes around in marketing. And it's not about doing marketing my way, like you have to be in this Facebook group, you have to do, X amount of time. Marketing is just building relationships. And so we get really specific about how you like to build relationships. Where do you like to show up? How do you like to talk to people? Those are the kinds of things that make a program work for you. It's not cookie cutter. So if you'd like to know more about Fearless Fundamentals, I'm going to put a link here where you can apply and see if it's a good fit. Because again, it's really important for me to not keep you from succeeding by matching you with a service or a program that's not a good fit for you. So I hope that these were helpful for people that are on both sides. If you're giving services, if you're accepting services, and don't forget to check out the Magnetic Entrepreneur Podcast tomorrow.